Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the June 11th, 2014 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. We have first item on the agenda for tonight is continued from the prior hearing is David Daly concerning DEP file number 2060728. Project location is 30 Hadley Street, and it's to construct a single-family residence within bordering land subject to flooding. Mr. Sullivan, if you could identify yourself for the record, please.
For the record, my name is Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of the Sullivan Engineering Group, and I'm here with the owner of the property, David Daly. And we made some substantial changes since our last hearing. I'll go through some of the changes made, and then I'll open it up for any questions. Since our last meeting, I did go out and do soil testing on the site. I'm a licensed soil evaluator. The test hole location shown on the plan, we found soil modeling down at 48 inches. A percolation test was run. The soil perked at 12 minutes an inch. So the test hole information and location has been added to the plan. Previously, we were showing 6 trees to be removed as part of this project. Now only 4 trees are to be removed. The 6 proposed trees to be planted have been changed to flowering trees instead of red maples. Previously, I proposed a dry well to be constructed in the rear yard. Based on the soil testing, in order to construct a dry well in the rear yard, I would have had to raise the grade by about 2 feet to get coverage over the dry well. So I actually eliminated the dry well design, and I'm proposing a rain garden to be constructed in the rear yard. Rain garden serves 2 purposes. As one of the members stated at the last meeting, this lot was nicely landscaped. There were many plantings. There was a nicely landscaped lot. So the rain garden will serve to provide stormwater mitigation. We're collecting the entire roofed area of the house and the driveway. It'll also provide landscaping. The rain garden will be landscaped, and I show the various plant types that will be planted for the rain garden. The rain garden meets DEP stormwater policy. It's situated 2 feet above the seasonal high groundwater table. And I did provide HydroCAD calculations showing that it is sized for the store the 100-year storm event. There was a concern last time. There's a number of large existing trees that are to remain on the site. I added a note to the plan that silt fencing or snow fencing shall be placed around the trees prior to construction as a protection measure. I also revised the site filling versus site compensation table. I tried to give a detailed breakdown of the site features on a foot-by-foot basis on all items contributing to the floodplain filling. And what I didn't include last time, and which I included this time, is I did not include the storage within the flow-through basement in my last calculation. On my previous plan, you saw some extensive proposed site grading onto the abutting property. When I looked back over my notes, I had not included the storage capacity within the basement area for the proposed structure. So I was able to, when I included that area within the proposed structure, I didn't have to go into the site grading that previously took place on the other lot. And I tried to give a real strong breakdown of grading versus all the impervious surfaces on a foot-by-foot basis to try to give a better idea of what areas the filling's taking place. I think I did a pretty good job on that. I added a concrete distribution box. I have a trench drain at the edge of the right-of-way to collect driveway runoff. It'll go into the trench grate, then it'll go into a concrete distribution box, which has a sump to it. So any silt that may carry through will be placed into that sump prior to discharge to the rain garden. I want to prevent any total suspended solids moving out to the rain garden and affecting the functionality of the rain garden. Another thing, the temporary driveway construction entrance was better identified. There's a construction detail showing how it will be constructed, and a note's been added to the plan showing that it'll be constructed in the same vicinity of the proposed driveway. And as I noted, there's now no proposed site grading changes onto Lot A. Two other things that I should note is, at our last hearing, there was, the city engineer had mentioned that DEP did not allow flow-through foundations. I placed 2 calls to the Northeast DEP region. I spoke to Pam Merrill and a Mrs. White, I think her name was Nancy White, who actually reviewed this project. Both had the same comments, that they are allowed as long as you provide compensatory flood storage capacity, which we do. And they actually updated their DEP comments section under our filing to say that it is allowed. And Mr. Mayo did not have any further comments on that. So they still do allow them, and we did get clarification with DEP. There was some filling done at number 30 behind the existing driveway along the walkway, as was noted at the previous hearing. It appears there was about 6 inches of loam that was placed in that area, which will need to be removed and regraded. In the rear yard, it looked like they top dressed the area. It didn't look substantial, but there's a walkway that runs along the edge of the driveway, so from the rear of the driveway to this portion of the walkway over to the lot line, there was some filling there. That'll have to be corrected. I did receive the city engineer's comments late yesterday afternoon. I did read through them. A lot of them seemed like housekeeping items that I can gladly address, but I didn't have time to get those to you tonight. But I looked them over. I didn't see anything that was something that I couldn't address in the future. It was mostly had to do with the stormwater report that I provided. And I'll turn it to and we also did, the architect did update the foundation plans. Previously, with the garage, that was going to be a filled area. It would be filled with frost walls. Now we're doing a structural floor on the garage. It'll be a steel floor, so it'll allow flow through underneath the garage. It'll be a structural floor, so we really tried to tighten up the grading on this site. The only proposed grading is basically in the front yard. We have a walkout rear basement, and I tried to match into the existing grade out in the back. And as you can see, we did try to keep a number of the large trees in the rear yard, and I think we did make an improvement where we had 6 trees coming down before. Now we only have 4, so we did try to make an effort to really tighten up the design, save some of the existing features, and try to limit the amount of filling that would take place on the property. And I'll turn it over to the commission for any questions they might have.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you redrawing this and saving a few more of the more mature trees that are on the property. There are a couple of fairly significant details still to work out, and it could just be a matter of nomenclature on the plans. I went over the calculations as best I could. You know, don't have the actual data, so it's just, you know, with an engineering ruler and whatnot and trying to figure it out. So I somewhat agree with your volumes and your cuts. I mean, I got fairly close numbers to what you were reporting, so we're in the ballpark, and the most significant filling seems to be that wedge, you know, at the driveway area from, you know, 102, the lowest grade. All right. Because you are suspending your garage floor, do those walls need extra reinforcement? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because you're showing, and your calculations, I'm assuming, are assuming the same 10-inch thick foundation wall. I don't know if any additional reinforcement is required, any additional, you know, wall thickness. Yes, Mr. Daly, if you want to approach, come on up if you have that information.
I did assume 10-inch walls throughout from my.
I'd appreciate that.
David Daly, 40 Lillian Street. I'm the petitioner on this project. I did discuss that with the architect regarding that same question with the load-bearing walls. He didn't believe so. If we did so, he's going to do get a structural engineer's opinion on that. From prior projects he's done, it didn't require that. However, if you need a structural engineer's opinion on that or a letter, we will do that. He said most likely we'll just do reinforcements with rebar spaced every 4 to 6 inches instead.
Okay, so the concern obviously is if the walls are thicker, that's more fill, so.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, all right. Now, let's get down to, with respect to the flow-through, and we double-checked on that, by the way, too, so, I appreciate you straightening that out, because we've sort of been operating for the last number of years, and I wouldn't say that we were in a situation where we weren't allowing flow-throughs, we just weren't seeing them. We were seeing everything on piers, so so I had never, as I said, I thought it was a slip opinion, and I didn't really know one way or another, so I'm glad that's been straightened out. Now, with respect to the flow-through, as you know, it's supposed to be 1-to-1, 1 square inch to 1 square foot, and I'm having trouble seeing that as on your details. I have 5 flow-throughs in the basement area with 840 square feet, and I've got 51 square inches per flow-through feature, so that works out to 255 square inches. So
I can address that. I actually failed in my to bring the actual updated copies from the engineer. I did email them to Swathy. She did tell me to bring the updated architectural plans with the flow-through, with the bigger flow-through foundation fence. I did not do that. I forgot. Did they drop them off at your office today? No. Okay, so I forgot to bring them from the office. But I have an updated plan here. I have 1 copy, and it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vents, and they're much larger if you want to pass it through the chair.
Sure.
I think that should address your cubic inch. The formula does match up.
all right, while it's getting passed around, I'll do some more calculations on that, but I mean, safe to say I'll trust it for now.
Sure.
The other significant issue with respect to the flow-throughs are your detail on the basement is indicating they shall be no higher than 103.5 elevation, and your note 2.3 on the flow-through features indicates that they shall not be closer than, or no, they shall not exceed 12 inches above the basement floor elevation. So the problem then that arises is if we don't know the bottom elevation for the flow-through, everything below that bottom elevation cannot be counted as compensation because you've got a bathtub effect. The water has to rise to that level prior to it being used as compensation. So your elevation details are actually showing the flow-throughs right up under the sill and not at grade. And that just could be an architectural detail, and I'm sure it's just done for aesthetic purposes there. But and that's not the actual engineering plan, but they have to be at grade. And that's it. If you want to get credit for those elevations, they have to be at grade.
I had that same question to the architect. He said it was just on the elevations, that he is certified as a flow-through conservation foundation. He said he can get that documentation to you guys as well. It was just on the elevations. I said, why do these look so high? And he said, in reality, they're going to be lower. He just didn't know exactly what the grades would come in. So
Yeah.
that'll address that problem in the final plan.
Okay, and again, the note is, specifically note 2.3 says the bottom of each opening shall be 12 inches or less above the adjacent ground level, and they have to be at grade.
Yes.
If they're 4 inches above grade, then that's your bottom. Anything below that, you've got to find compensation outside of the foundation.
Sure.
Okay.
That's a good point, because I am taking that 6-inch credit between 102.5 and 103. And you're right, if the vents are set up at 103, I'm losing that.
Right.
So that
Right, and
we'll
you can't
clarify
take
that.
credit for that inside the foundation.
Right.
And Mr. Daly, one other and I probably won't be alone here in expressing my concern about this. Your building needs to sell, obviously, because that's what you do for a living. The issue that we've had with some houses in the past with flow-through vent features like this is future owners fill them in. And what that happens now is 100% of your compensation is inside the building, and once the vents have been defeated, then we don't have compensation anymore.
Part of the federal guidelines that I got on flow-through foundations involves a piece of documentation. It's a declaration that goes along with the title or the deed of the property that says we will not, they have to sign off, and that they will not fill it in, they will not create a bathroom or anything more than storage and parking. No living space. And that will be a declaration that we can, there's actually I don't know if it's part of the thing that Swathi had sent me. It's really well detailed, indicating that what the requirements are. They'd have to sign off, and that would go with the deed of the property. I don't know if you'd make that a order of condition, part of the order of conditions. I'm open to that.
Okay. I had. All right, Commissioner Barnum, thank you.
Would part of that documentation be explanation of pumping out, that the foundation must be pumped out after a flood?
I get a copy if you guys want to take a look at it. It's pretty detailed, the declaration. I mean, we could put that, I have to,
I'm just,
the only problem with that is enforcement. Is the fact
well,
that,
I think it's a matter, I'm more concerned about a matter of awareness of a future buyer that this is in a flood zone, and that there could be some maintenance that they're not aware of. And I'm just wondering what the best way to get that information to the future buyer in succession would be, whether that should be on a deed, or what would keep that information going from owner to owner?
well, my experience with that is it seems like these days, the buyers that we're dealing with are pretty well versed in a number of different areas, but we can make that, obviously they have a number of questions about the flow-through foundation. It's not something that comes up every day. I have a number of materials on it anyways. I just say, as far as pumping it out, I mean, we can put that in. It's the fact that I don't know how we're gonna enforce that. Secondarily, making sure that this flow-through works the right way, the way we just discussed, should eliminate that problem. But, I do understand your concern.
Yeah. Perhaps you could suggest some wording on that.
Sure.
I think also, like, there'll be an order of conditions, but that, once there's a certificate of compliance issued, and if there's a new owner in the future, the only thing that might happen is any new owner would know they're still gonna have to get flood insurance on the property. So it might carry through with their flood insurance company as well, because someone would have to come out and do a new flood study for each owner, I would think, for insurance purposes.
Well, I'm pleased that more of the trees are being saved in the front. I think they look to be pretty healthy to me, and sometimes new owners don't get a tree started correctly, and new trees perhaps are at risk, so I'm pleased that those were saved. I was concerned about the fill on the existing house lot. I'm assuming that your contractor, whoever put fill there, knows how much they put there. And I'm hoping that we can get some kind of a certification that that same amount was removed. I know at the very rear of the lot, around those big trees, there's quite a bit of fill too. So I think you probably could collect most of it, except for what perhaps is underneath the asphalt. And I think that's significant enough to be important, that, that lot also is close to the floodplain. I've misplaced the rain garden planting sheet, but it seemed like some of the plants you were, some kind of a daylily, wasn't really a wetland type of a plant.
Right.
Are those going to survive in wet conditions?
I've actually used these in some other municipalities, and the idea is that it's not gonna stay wet because we're sited 2 feet above the groundwater table. There will be water, but it's not gonna be a saturated condition like you'd find in a wetland. So many of the plants are not wetland plants that you find in a rain garden. You're still 2 feet above the water table with the bottom of this system, so some of these plants are not wetland plants.
So we generally have, I'd almost view this as a compensatory storage area, even though it's not exactly that.
Right.
And we usually look at a 2-year span to see if that's really working. So I think that probably at least a year, we'd like to see that continue to be working as it was intended.
That makes sense. And I didn't take any credit for any storage in that rain garden, but there will be some storage. But it's a trade-off because in a 25-year storm event, that rain garden might be full of water. But there will be some storage and some lower end flooding events within that rain garden, but I didn't take any credit in my calculations for it.
Thank you.
I just want to interject, it may answer a question that was asked. Typically, when the flow-through features are permitted on an order of conditions, those are indicated as a permanent condition. Yep. And what that means is a future COC, a future certificate of compliance, would not release those. Okay, they would remain as an ongoing condition on the property.
Yep.
Okay. And, I mean, I have to say, the rain garden I thought was kind of unusual. I think it's the first one I've seen on a conservation plan, so.
Especially in a size like this. Yeah.
So, all right, Commissioner Lynch.
I don't have any questions. I think the rain garden is great. Actually, haven't had my work, and it's nice to see how it's used, so it's good.
Commissioner Beardred?
I think you guys did a great job. You addressed all of our comments, and you turned this around extremely fast. I did not think you were gonna make it. DEP seems to be on board. Have they seen these revised plans, I'm assuming?
They have not.
They have not?
No,
So, these are better than the old ones, so they'll probably approve. And then I just had one concern about some topo lines, proposed topo, but I think you fixed them on this one. So, there was just some stragglers over here, but I think you're good, so I have no further questions.
Great, thank you.
Swati, anything from the city to add? I reviewed the engineer's comments, and a lot of her comments were more or less building issues and not conservation issues, so.
Yes, and hence the reason why we didn't develop any further comments was the plan is definitely an improvement. It was more structural elements, and also going forward how the property deed will make sure future owners also maintain that status.
Right. Okay, Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Daly, what I'd like to see, I'm going to open this up to the public in just a few minutes. From what I'm hearing, this potentially could be permitted tonight. However, it would be conditioned, at least for me, upon updated plans, specifically with some statement from Mr. Daly, whether or not, that there probably won't be any further thickening of the walls for reinforcement for the garage, just a statement. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything more than that, or even just a note on a plan.
Sure.
But the elevations, I know the architect probably is not the person who is going to show the vent elevations, but those need to be, those are critical. And the actual elevations must be shown on an updated plan. And then obviously, I'm seeing and I don't know what happened to it, it's somewhere.
I got it over here.
Yeah, the expanded, the larger flow-through vents. And I note that you have a smart vent. Typically, we get, with the smart vent folks, we get a sheet just explaining how their vent works. You probably have a vendor product detail sheet, if you could provide that.
I did forward it.
Oh, all right, okay, so, okay, we probably didn't get it, and that's fine, just so it's in the file.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
She does have it on.
We did get an email, right?
okay.
Yeah, it was a late email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and just so that, so the foundation plans with the increased number and size of the vents, and then additionally, a plan showing the actual elevations of those are provided, and subject to conservation, review and approval prior to any construction. But at this time, I'm going to open it up. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Yes, sir, if you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
My name is Michael Hayden. I live at 25 Hadley Street. First of all, I'd like to clarify one thing. My being here tonight has nothing to do with trying to stop Mr. Daly from building a house. In fact, seeing the work that his company did on the other house, I'm actually excited to see this house because they do very good work. And they clean up and all that stuff. My only thing, and maybe the engineer can settle that for me, is do you have any idea how this is going to affect the groundwater for, the people in the area? That's my only concern.
Well, this is twofold, what we're doing. We had to show, for this site, we know we're in a 100-year floodplain, so I had to show that any amount of filling that I do on the site, I provide compensation somewhere else on the property. And as the chairman asked last time, he wanted to see numbers, whatever I'm filling, he wanted to see an increase of at least 5% of storage available on this site. I'm well above the 5%. So in flooding conditions, there'll be more storage with this proposed project than there exists now, okay? And secondly, from stormwater, this rain garden that we're discussing, flow from impervious surfaces on the new site will drain back to this rain garden and then infiltrate into the ground. So I had to show, from a stormwater standpoint, that my post-development runoff is less than my pre-development, which I've done. So twofold. For the flood issue, I'm providing more storage, and for a stormwater issue, we're containing water on site that previously would have run off the site. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, as far as I'm concerned, that answers my questions. And, I was just looking out for, last night I wanted all kinds of water. But I just, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem, and I wish him luck.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming in, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against? Hearing none other, do I have a motion to close the
I'll
public
make a
hearing?
motion to close the public
By
hearing.
Commissioner Beardron, do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Lynch. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Now, I think we can permit this with the permanent conditions about the vents and flow-through features, and subject to updated plans being provided. So,
I'll make a motion to issue a standard Lowell order of conditions with some special conditions that you have to update the plan with elevations, no further thickening of the walls, issue shop drawings of the vent showing some size, which you already done. Final grades of the flow-through need to be on remove that plan, and then language on the deed of the property stating what we talked about earlier.
do I have a second? Second. All right. Any discussion on the motion as proposed?
She was talking fast. Did she say anything about explaining the vents and the things in some permanent fashion?
Yep, the updated plan should have elevations with the new vents and whatnot. And then also, they should issue shop drawings of the vents showing the sizes.
I'm thinking like a permanent condition, as the chairman mentioned, that,
Yep, so there'll be language in the deed, and then do we want to specify what that language
okay,
is?
you said that,
Yep,
okay.
Well, there's,
there's two languages, right?
yeah, if I may interject, typically the flow-through, the flow-through vents themselves would not arise to language in the deed. What would happen is that the vents and the flow-through would be a permanent condition on the order of conditions and would not be dischargeable by a subsequent certificate of compliance. So it would always be there. The non-conversion agreement that Mr. Daly supplied us with, do you typically record that at the Registry of Deeds?
I liken that to a 60 certificate. I'll record it with the deed at the time of closing.
Right, so it shows a base elevation then, and that puts, future owners on notice as to the elevations to be maintained and the flow through. So that would run with the title, so that would be maintained. So no specific language other than a line just saying subject to
Sure.
this declaration.
Yep.
Which would be, at least as far as I'm concerned, would be sufficient.
Did we have something about the rain garden being a permanent feature and would be in show performance for at least a year following completion of the project?
All right, would you like to make that as an amendment to the? Okay, all right. An amended motion by Commissioner Varnum. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Beardron. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Commissioner Varnum. Chair is yes. Commissioner Lynch.
Aye.
Commissioner Beardron.
Aye.
Okay, now the motion by Commissioner Beardron is seconded by Commissioner Lynch. Commissioner Varnum.
Yes.
Chair is yes. Commissioner Lynch.
Aye.
Commissioner Beardron.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just be in touch with Swathi when this issues. Now, the quicker you get the plan in for approval, the quicker you'll get your orders.
Is there a 20-day appeal period?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's from, and you have to.
When does that start ticking? When it gets when it gets stamped with
Yeah,
the
when
clerks?
it gets recorded. Well, when we sign it, but
Okay.
your recording window is very small.
Yep.
And there's very actually draconian rules about not recording it, so
Okay.
you could lose your order after a very short period of time.
So does that, when does the clock start ticking when you guys get the updated plans?
When the order actually issues, that's when the clock starts ticking, and then I think you have 30 days after we issue it to record it, so. yeah.
Okay, I'll be in contact. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good night, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's a 10-day appeal period, correct? I think planning and zoning boards are 20.
Yeah, it
So
could be
whenever-
10
yeah.
days, I don't, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
When Swathi sends it to DEP, that's when it starts the
Yeah,
10
it's
day.
ticking. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's too many numbers.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Moving on to the second item on tonight's agenda is a notice of intent, also continued from the prior hearing, Verizon Wireless, concerning DEP file number 2060729. Project location is 525 Pawtucket Boulevard, and it's to install an electrical generator within 100-year floodplain and wetland buffer zone.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good evening. Tom Hildreth for Verizon Wireless. We were here 2 weeks ago inviting you to approve our application without any compensatory storage because of the de minimis nature of our displacement, an invitation that you kindly refused and sent us back looking, and we have found some storage, and our wetlands consultant, Alec McLeod, will tell you about that.
Thank you.
I'm Alec McLeod. We revisited the site the day after the hearing, and the solution to the compensatory storage problem became pretty obvious. There's a sort of a wrought iron fence along one side of the condominium complex, and this wrought iron fence is interrupted about every 10 or 12 feet or so by some 2x2 brick and concrete bollards. That certainly provides enough compensatory storage by removing one of those. And so what's proposed is to remove the last one in the line and to replace that with a 4-inch by 4-inch metal post that is compatible with the decor of the fence. That is actually at the end of the wrought iron fence and at the beginning of an existing chain link fence. So that's what's proposed. You also asked for a chart of the impacts, total and per vertical foot. We have provided this in an updated drawing. And what we have are from the ground elevation 97 to 98 is fill that amounts to 2.6 cubic feet or 0.1 cubic yards. That is compensated by 4 cubic feet of compensatory storage. From 98 to 99, 0.3 cubic feet, also compensated by 4 cubic feet of compensatory storage. 99 to 100, also 0.3 cubic feet, and again, compensated by 4 cubic feet of storage, for a total of fill of 3.15 cubic feet and total compensatory storage of 12 cubic feet below the flood elevation. So I think we've complied with what it is you required last time, and if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Yeah, I noticed that your fill calculations were taken out to 6 decimal places in your...
Well, you're talking about some engineers.
Your
I'm
precision,
right here.
your precision was a little off.
Yeah, well, that's precision, not necessarily accuracy.
I'm always
Significant
thrilled.
figures are here.
I'm always thrilled to get a net gain in compensatory storage. We've spent the last several hundred years filling in wetlands, and since the Wetlands Protection Act, these incremental little fills here and there have kind of been ignored and deemed de minimis, and it's starting to catch up with a lot of people, and especially in this neighborhood. So when I requested last week that you find some compensation, I was pretty confident you would, and I'm glad you did, and I'm glad it's 3 times or 4 times, even though it's a small amount, I'm glad it's 4 times what you're filling in. So
Yeah, we were prepared to go around inside the garage and do some concrete spalling if we had to.
and I know this is just a tiny amount, but again, it's it's turning the tide the other way now. So
Right, literally.
Commissioner Varnum.
We had, and along with that neighborhood, had quite a time in 2 occasions in the last 10 years with flooding. And I'm not sure that, we have a letter here from a neighborhood group. And I'm wondering if the question is raised as whether that fence was part of the original construction plan.
I have no knowledge of that.
I don't know the answer to that either. But it could be that all of those brick bollards are essentially fill in the floodplain that wasn't permitted.
My understanding is that the original project went through a permitting process, and if, I assume that the commission, which appears to be a very thorough commission, would have spotted that at the time.
Well, that's just something that I would like to check out. And I don't know if we have the plans. It goes back to maybe 10 years ago.
I cannot promise that it will be available because usually we have a 7-year backlog that we are mandated to keep track of, but I can
Well,
definitely
it could
check.
be more recent also. I really just can't
I can
think of
definitely check.
when that was built, but.
If it's within the last 7 years, we should definitely have. It will not be purged until,
Yeah. So you could check that.
Sure.
Thank you. That's all for now.
Commissioner Lynch?
No question.
Commissioner Beardron? All right. These are the brick, they're brick, yeah, the things I saw. I can't recall, but that fence was built along with the Grandview. And I don't have, we permitted it, we were both on the commission then, but I don't remember if that was part of it or not.
The character and the distribution of colors in the brick are identical between the bollards and the condominium walls.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say is I'm pretty sure we've issued a CLC on that, and if we have, we're gonna be stuck with it, so. But, what I'd like to do is open this up at this time. If there's no further questions from the commission, I'd like to open it up. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against? All right, hearing none.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Do we have a motion by Commissioner Beardron? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Now we're at a crossroads. We either wait or we permit. I'm, for one, am satisfied that we issued a COC on this, and that fence was a feature. I mean, I drive by this place almost on a daily basis, and that fence has been there for some time. I understand the PCC's concerns, but regardless whether or not that was originally permitted or not, my memory is, I just don't know, I have no idea. But we did issue a COC, and that fence was part of it, so, regardless, I think we're stuck with it.
Well, I can see that if the proposal stands, that we will not have any additional fill. But now I'm curious. I would like to still know the answer to that.
Yeah, no, I think we can, I agree. Do we have a,
I'll make a motion to issue a standard Lowell order of conditions.
all right, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Beardron, seconded by Commissioner Lynch. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Commissioner Barnum?
Aye.
Chair is yes. Commissioner Lynch?
Aye.
Commissioner Beardron?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda is a notice of intent concerning DEP file number 2060731. And project location is pretty long stretch of the Concord River from 23 Rogers Street through 34.1, 56.1, 58.1 Merrill Street, 546.1, 576, and 670 Lawrence Street. And the proponent is the city of Lowell to construct a pedestrian walkway along the Concord River in Lowell between Centennial Island Apartments and the Jolene Dubner Park at Rogers Street along the west bank of the Concord River.
Yes. Hi. Good evening. I'm Patty Luckin. I'm from the Department of Planning and Development. This is the third phase of the Concord River Greenway. As you said, we'll be coming down from, our intent is to come down from Jolene Dubner Park down to what is a Centennial Island driveway in that area for a visual, but basically the address is you indicated. This is 725 feet and a continuation of the 2 miles that we have been working on to complete this pedestrian walkway. And so this will be 725 feet. Ultimately, we're going to complete at least 2 miles going from Lawrence Street to downtown Lowell at Davison Street. I have with me tonight also, I have Jane Calvin from the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, who's been on this project since day one, certainly longer than I have. And Dave Beati, our engineer from Greater Lowell Engineering Associates. If you have any questions or anything.
It's been a long road, hasn't it, Jane? It's good to see this actually starting to come to fruition. Has it been funded? Yes. It has been?
Sure.
Cool. Is it Ms. Larkin?
Mrs.
Okay,
Whichever.
Mrs. Larkin. This was originally, I'm sure it was a concept in the back of someone's mind in the Parks and Conservation Trust that even predates the land swap of the city well fields out in the Highlands. And that was done by legislative action back, oh boy, I don't know, 14 years ago or so now. And there's been a number of phases to this, but this is one of the linchpins of it, connecting the downtown to the greater Concord River Walkway and Concord River Greenway. I walked this. Were you there when we walked this last summer?
I may not have been.
Okay.
I
I
walked it so
this
many
with-
times that I don't believe I was. I have
David, were you
walked-
there? Oh, yeah, okay. We walked this and had discussed some of the details and trees to be looking at and whatnot. And I note in your notes that there's going to be a walkthrough with an arborist to identify the trees to protect, because there are a number of very mature, very majestic trees along this stretch of various different species. So, and I note that the walkway is being designed, to go around some of them. I don't know who to ask if you could provide us just with a little bit of detail about how, in the method that you're using to cantilever or to support the walkway along the bank.
Okay. I can tell you it's a very tight area in there.
Yes.
I think Dave could probably answer the actual specific construction questions.
Yeah, I know it varies depending on where you are, but the more, again, this walkway is entirely within the riverfront area, so, and in some cases is below the 100-year flood elevation, but that being noted, it's also entirely within the floodway of the Concord River, so if you could fill us in on some of the construction details, some of the And perhaps the methods are unknown at this time and will be part of the RFP process and the contractor providing the information. But if you could at least provide us with some of the engineering aspect of how you intend to support the walkway.
Most of the walkway at this particular point has been revised from its original, I guess, our imaginations of any cantilevered sections, and most of the walkway is at grade. There is a small section where there isn't as much of a bank as we would like, where we've proposed a retaining wall, a modular block retaining wall. But our numbers and calculations show that we are above the 100-year floodplain in our location. And this is now the second phase of this phase, if you will. The first segment of this walkway has been eliminated for the time being until the city, I guess, comes to some kind of an agreement with an easement through the Centennial Apartments. The project that we're looking at right now, I believe, comes from, or originates now from the backside of the parking lot, Centennial Apartments, and makes its way over to Jolene Dubner Park. 100% at grade, no cantilevered sections, no structures to speak of. An 8-foot wide bituminous concrete walk, really pretty simple, graded slightly towards the river with really a negligible amount of stormwater to be addressed.
So then some of the details where I saw that part is not being constructed where it was below the 100-year flood elevation?
I'm not sure that I'm looking at the same set of plans, or that we have the same set of plans. There may have been a very small area or a very small length that might be in, but I would have to go back and check on that.
Oh, maybe, no, actually, maybe I misread it, so. Okay, it's your footings that are below grade that I was looking at, so, and I'm not looking at the dashed bank line, so, okay. All right, that was just a mental error on my part. So all your footings are within the bank, but all above the 100-year flood elevation, so there'll be, the bank as it exists now, I may note, is fairly developed right up to the top of the bank. So this is the disturbances that, and again, when I walked it, that will be required are actually somewhat minimal. Mm-hmm. It's just generally changing the character of the bank as opposed to, removing vegetation and whatnot. For the most part, that neighborhood is developed right up to the edge of the bank for the most part. Jane, perhaps you could just give us a little bit of back history on this, if you'd like, and explain the importance of this part of the walkway to the greater Concord Greenway.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Again, it's Jane Calvin. I'm the Executive Director of the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. So, pardon my cold. Can I give you a little bit of background where we're at in terms of what's been constructed so far? And at first, I'll actually back up beyond that. The Greenway actually fills an important gap in the regional trail network. So downtown, we have the river walks. There's actually, and then you have the Bruce Freeman Trail that's at Cross Point. This will eventually connect with that. Even larger than that is the Bruce Freeman Trail, which is a 200-mile trail that travels through 50 towns and roughly follows 495. That map, there was just a big article in the Lowell Sun, in the Boston Globe recently, and there's a whole crowd of people that are actually walking it in 2 weeks, all 200 miles of it. Lowell has one of the last remaining gaps in that section. Our organization has envisioned the Greenway for probably at least 30 years and been actively working on developing the Greenway since about 2000 when we received our first funding from the EPA. There are 2 sections that are complete. The section at Lawrence Street by the Lawrence Street entrance to the Lowell Cemetery. There's a gateway there, an entrance. There's a public art piece with a tall granite stack, parking spaces for about 4 or 5 cars. And that follows the eastern bank of the Concord River all the way down to a gate at Bradford Industries. The other section that's done is closer to town, into downtown at the Davidson lot. So the Davidson lot, which is the big parking lot across from the auditorium where a lot of people park for events and such, that was actually a brownfield. Purple ooze, it had no green space whatsoever. That is actually now a very, very long rain garden. The entire stretch of that is one long rain garden. We've added green space to that as well, and there's a gateway there with public art, including some bird bollards and a very, very long text fence. The entire Greenway also has multilingual signage in 4 different languages, based on an eco-inventory that we've done, oral histories with neighbors and such. So those 2 ends are complete. I'll go back up to the Lawrence Street section so you have a vision of how it will connect with the section that the city's talking about at this point. And at the bridge at Bradford Industries, eventually there will be a bridge that crosses over to Centennial Island. It'll follow Centennial Island north to the Centennial Hydro Plant. A bridge will cross their tail race and then land on the Centennial Island housing property. That will connect with this section here. Unfortunately, just because agreements aren't lining up perfectly well, the city can't go out to bid all at once for that, but that'll happen hopefully very soon. The city has received funding for those sections I just mentioned as far as the bridges and such, and there's also funding available that is for the National Grid section. So once you pop up from Jolene Dubner Park, that'll actually follow, you'll cross the bridge at Rogers Street and then follow the top of Bank at National Grid. So we're working very closely with National Grid as well. So I say we we've been working very closely with the city over the years, and I see our role as being very much a catalyst and helping facilitate bringing funding in, bringing those value-added pieces like the multilingual signage and the public art. And there's actually an online outdoor classroom that the Songus Industrial History Center and the National Park have been using as well. So I think hopefully that gives you enough background. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
All right, are there any questions of the city from the commission? Commissioner Varnum? No, Commissioner Lynch? No. Commissioner Beardron?
I just have a question. This may be out of our jurisdiction. I'm just curious. Do you guys need easements?
In order to construct the bridge at Centennial, where we land is actually adds up on their property. So yes, we need the easements, and we've been working very hard to obtain those easements. But we felt pushing forward with this section was important for momentum, and and to continue working on those easements, which we hope we'll get soon.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, it looks like all the property lines kind of end before this along the river. So.
Right.
And then one more thing. Do you guys put any like bollards up or boulders or anything so it's just a pedestrian walkway?
I mean, it's anticipated that.
Or do you not even need protection because it's not an area?
We do have plans or proposals for at least a couple of bollards at the very beginning of this stretch or this segment. And certainly I would propose to do those types of things, propose those types of items going forward along the way, so that obviously larger vehicles can't access the walk and disrupt the pedestrian biking flow of traffic. So.
Yeah, because I know in Chelmsford, like every time there's a street, there's like a few bollards or.
Right. Yeah, we do have two proposed at the beginning of this, and I believe 2 from the previous section that hasn't gone out yet.
Gotcha. All right. Good project.
Is the wooden bridge going to be utilized at the Centennial Island? Are you going to be, is the city going to be sharing that with the Centennial Island apartments? That's what it looks like? Is that,
The plan was to propose this easement to go right through the parking lot and over that old wooden bridge,
okay.
correct? Yeah.
And Swati, do we have any timeline? We had permitted it, we had given them an emergency order to fix that bridge. I mean, that's come and gone. I mean, is there any timeline for them doing that? I was under the
No.
impression that that was a fire hazard.
Yeah, I was making a mental note to basically follow up on that.
Right. Okay, all right. Is there anyone, before I close this out, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
By Commissioner Lynch. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue a standard Lowell order of conditions. Do you want with a special condition of, did you guys say you want a list of trees?
Well,
are we-
no, well, there's a number of mature trees already, and the notes, the construction notes have required a certified arborist to go over with the project engineer which trees are to be preserved and saved and protected.
So we're good,
Yeah.
on the same page.
Yeah, and we had spent some time, I believe, David, you were out there with us when we had done the walkthrough on several of those trees, so.
So yeah, just a standard Lowell order of conditions.
Seconded by Commissioner Varnum, motion by Commissioner Beardron. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Commissioner Varnum? Chair is yes. Commissioner Lynch?
Aye.
Commissioner Beardron?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability. Plenus Group, Inc., 101 Phoenix Avenue. Project location is 101 Phoenix Avenue. It's to maintain an office trailer within the wetland buffer. I went out there today. Oh, all right, you're Mr. Chungus. And I went out there today. There's a wetland, there's a, one of those full-size construction trailers being used as an office, I guess, or something like that. I mean, it's in a fairly well-maintained area. That's in there's a fairly significant buffer between, it's a lawned area, and there's some little bit of gravel and around it, but there's a treed area, and then it drops down into the wetland area. So it's definitely within the 100-foot buffer. However, that being said, the wetland, so to speak, is sort of the resources perhaps more in this particular location where the trailer is. It's more in designation as opposed to wetland species. It's specifically it looks to be the public, the paper street, yeah, from the city. Obviously it wasn't permitted to be there, and it should be, but I didn't see any particular issues with it being there. It's, as I said, the area that it was placed is a fairly well-developed area, but it's very well maintained, and there's a fairly significant buffer around it, isolating it from the wetland itself. So, easily it could be a negative determination on this. So, I don't know if anyone else went out to look at it.
Is there a 100-year floodplain associated with this
No.
site?
No. No, it's above. The city of, indicating on the map, the city of Lowell property is way below grade, it drops down. And that actually may, and most likely is within the floodplain there, but not where the trailer is placed, so. It's right off the edge of their pavement, it's right off the edge of the building. It traditionally looked to be a lawned area anyway, so, and it's being, it's maintained, so. It actually, to be honest with you, it sort of isolates that corridor. If there's any wildlife using it, it sort of isolates the parking area in the building actually from the edge, so it kind of actually serves a little bit of a beneficial purpose as opposed to a detriment, so. So, I mean, as I said, I didn't have a problem with it at all, so. You need to add anything, Mr. Chungus?
No. I know Jennifer's business has been growing by leaps and bounds, and I know that trailer was to accommodate files and an office, actually, for her. They've taken additional space across the street. So I understand, well, I leased the property to them. They leased the trailer from a leasing company. They thought they were all set. I thought they were all set. And we find out we weren't, so we're here.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, I don't know if you got a permit to put it there from the city, but pretty much any time you bring a structure like that onto your property, you should be contacting for relevant permits. And on your property specifically, now that you know that you have resource area, I would probably venture a guess that a third of your property is within a buffer zone, so. And I don't know, do you own the detention area in the back? Is that part of your property? No? Okay, so.
On the plan, you'll see a property line, and the detention area is actually on the post office property.
Okay, all right.
It's 175 feet, by and large.
All right, so, yeah, but pretty much anything, from like midline of your building over to that, facing it over to the right and towards the back, probably the whole back property line to the, middle of the building going across, is pretty much buffer zone. So, anything in those areas would require at least a notice to this, to us about what you're doing. Okay, all right. So, I'd entertain a motion for a negative determination, so.
Move to issue a negative determination.
By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner
Second.
Beardron. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you for coming in.
So we're all set then. Thank you.
Moving on, other business, 10 to 76 Eklund Drive and 56 to 140 80 Way concerning DB file number 2060631. And from what I understand, we have some project updates.
Yes, my name is Dennis Connors. I reside at 38 Westview Road in Lowell. I'm here tonight representing the Residents First Development Corporation that is developing the River's Edge subdivision off Gorham Street. We met, I also have with me Andre Betty from Stantec Engineering and Kevin O'Brien from O'Brien Homes, who is the unit contractor. We met with sorry. And I just want to give a plug of, I meet with a lot of people in the city, and she was extremely helpful and a very good representative of your group. Okay, she's a problem solver, saw the issue and got right to it.
I'm glad you think so, because I've never heard anything good said about her from anyone else, so.
I doubt that.
I'll second what you said.
I can be critical of people sometimes, but she was a refreshing thing. I'll give you a quick 1-minute update from the administrative side of the project. Andre can give you a little quick update of the technical side, and if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. I have handouts that will cover what I'm going to talk about if you're interested in them. As you know, the project was permitted as a 180-unit planned unit development, and there's an order of conditions that has been extended over the years. Currently, we have built and sold 44 single-family homes and 54 duplexes, or a total of 98 units. Construction stopped for a while due to some financing concerns. Within the last couple of years, last year really, we recommenced work on a large scale under a Mass Works grant, which allowed us to create some new infrastructure and roadways. That work is being finished up. It has to be finished by June 30th, and we'll make that date. It allows us to create another 35 lots or 53 units which can be built on the lots. 22 of those lots are what I call ready-to-build lots. There's really no more work on them. O'Brien Homes can start building on them as soon as I get the commitment from the loan pool. Within the next 2 weeks, we will start construction on 10 lots and phase out the rest of them as the market dictates. Without trying, 3 of the duplexes went under agreement within the last couple of weeks just by word of mouth. So there is a demand for housing up there. That's my little pitch on it, but Andre can talk about the technical parts that concern the Conservation Commission more than the stuff I had to say.
Thanks, Dennis. I passed out a plan that, oops, right side up. It kind of gives you a feel for the project and where we stand. The resource areas, there are wetlands down in this general vicinity. There are some in this area and largely out beyond towards the Concord River. Currently, we are constructing the stuff that's in bright yellow. That's what is under construction right now. I talked to the contractor today, and we're anticipating top course paving to go down next Friday. A couple of the resource areas, this RDA number 1 was completed in approximately 2006 as part of one of the previous phases. We're just finishing the roadway grading at this point, which will finish that off. There was a small wetland impact here that was also done in approximately 2006. This RDA number 2 and bank replication, RDA 2 was constructed in 2004, and the bank replication was rough graded at that time. We are completing the grading of the bank replication as part of this project. We also have a small wetland impact out here that we're doing part of it at this part of this phase. With the wetland impacts that we've had so far, we'll be approximately 40% of the total impact for the project. There are future impacts out here once the road continues that we'll be doing. There are some flood storage impacts as well. All of them are out here well beyond our current limit of work. Associated with them, there's also a compensatory flood storage area where we're going to replicate, and there's wetland mitigation area out here as well. One of the conditions of the permit was that we build the wetland replication and the compensatory flood storage when we started the construction in Zone 5. Given the limitations of the funding and discussions with the city at the time, it was agreed we were going to stop here because that's as far as the $1.5 million grant was going to take us. And the concern over building these at the time was that we were going to start creating access points into the wooded areas, which would become gathering points for undesirable activities, is how it was kind of basically put. So we all agreed that we would not do that at this time. Once the completion of the road occurs, those things will be one of the first things that we do as part of the project to make sure that we have addressed those conditions. So that's kind of the update at this point.
So I saw that this was starting back up in the paper, and this was probably about 2 or 3 months ago now.
Construction actually started last July.
Well, maybe, okay, maybe it was that long ago. I was a little curious about a couple of issues. One is, are you going to finish the loop in the road?
We are.
Okay.
Just, I'm not sure of the timing of that.
All right,
That's going to
now-
be funding dependent.
I guess my thing is that this was permitted back, I don't know when, I mean, like 2002, 3?
The original permit was approximately 2002 or 2003. That permit expired, and I
Right.
believe 2004 or 5. We then came to the board with a new permit, which I believe was granted in 2006 or 7? 8, excuse me, 2008.
All right, and that's
Which has been extended by,
and that's been extended by the emergency executive extension?
until
What-
2015,
Till when?
June of 2015.
Okay, so you may want to start aligning your ducks to get an extension for that one.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're not-
You don't want to wait until,
You can tell, I ask him every 3 months about it.
yeah, you don't want to wait until just a month or two prior to that
We've already discussed that with
Yeah.
Swathi, that if we're not going to be constructing in 2015, we will
Right,
absolutely be
right.
approaching the board.
There's very specific rules about whether or not we can extend orders, so, and if you come down to the last couple of months, I mean, our hands are tied sometimes. We can't extend it whether we want to or not.
We'd rather approach early than late.
Yeah, and there's 2 members sitting up here right now that were part of a very extensive hearing process when these were permitted. What I want to impress upon you, though, is the replication areas and the compensatory storage areas. You had indicated that the 2 that were on the eastbound side of the property weren't going to be done until later stages, but those were, I believe, all supposed to be done prior to any construction being commenced. All the replication areas and the compensatory storage, I mean, the project was contingent upon those being finished. And then it was to be inspected, and once we were satisfied that those were built out properly, then the project could continue. So I'm a little chagrined, I guess, that those haven't been done yet, but yet construction is proceeding. The island, is that going to be developed out?
Excuse me, the what?
The island,
The island.
the southern island?
No.
No.
No, you've dropped that?
Dropped that.
So there won't be a crossing then?
No.
Okay,
No.
all right, good. Now, you may want to file an updated plan indicating that you're dropping that, because some of those
We have,
oh, okay.
yeah. No, there's been a new subdivision plan approved by the planning.
All right, some of those replication, the crossing specifically, and some of the replication and compensation for the replication was because of that crossing.
Yeah, and in the amended permit in 2008, that
Yes.
island was dropped at that time.
Did
Yes,
we?
yes.
Oh, I don't recall that, but okay, I'll take your word for it
I
now
did
that I'm
check the
getting the
file.
thumbs up over there from Swathi, who no one likes, so.
The only thing that has really changed in this plan versus the plan you saw is the lot configurations have slightly changed to accommodate a few minor revisions.
All right,
But
so
other
the
than that,
so the
it's-
cul-de-sac that you're showing on 80 Way eventually will be
yes, that's
gone,
temporary.
and that'll be a loop around
Yes.
to connect to the other side.
The plan is to continue the road as originally designed. Funding became the issue.
Okay. All right, now this is all 40B housing, isn't it?
Excuse me, it's what?
Is this all 40B housing?
Oh, no,
No?
it's not 40B housing. No, it wasn't a comprehensive permit. It was a
Oh.
planned unit development with certain deed restrictions, making homes either affordable at certain percentages of the HUD medium income.
Okay.
Most of the homes, I mean, not most, but a majority of the homes are market rate homes out there.
Okay, all right, all right. I mean, I have nothing to add, but you really need to look into the, especially the compensatory flood storage area, because and establishing that, because that was a critical aspect of this project. That's the one on the southeast, corner?
That's correct.
Right,
but
right.
Bear in mind, we haven't impacted the floodplain at all yet with this project. All of the floodplain impact is out there in that area as well.
Okay,
So we haven't impacted any floodplain at this point.
okay.
There, you actually see that, it's, excuse me, Dennis. This area, and this area are the three areas that are the floodplain impact. And we just haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
We will, absolutely, and when we get there, as part of that, we're gonna do that as well.
All right, Commissioner Barney? All right, Commissioner Lynch? Commissioner Bearden?
No questions.
All right, okay. Anything further from the city, Swati?
No, I have asked them to be, proactive about seeking the continuation before it expires, and also to have an open communication so that, I can update the commission as.
Okay, just don't be so nice to them next time, that's all.
I said cooperative.
All right, okay. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank you
coming.
very much.
Thank you for coming in. And moving on, we have no minutes for approval, and do we have any other business, Swati? Nothing else?
Sorry, what was that? I'm sorry. No, we don't have any.
We had,
And we don't have any filings for the next meeting.
No filings yet?
We have no filings for the next
we have
meeting.
no filings, so I'm not going to be here the next meeting anyway, assuming that we do have a meeting, so.
Yeah, we didn't continue anything.
All right, well, we'll keep us posted. All right, okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Lynch. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and good night.